We're going to talk today about some work that we've done in the SHT around an information resource for patients, relatives and carers. Obviously it's in response to the paucity of information in recent years and the desperate need for this information. Our resource is about 4 or 5 pages long. This morning, I think we've lost the front page somewhere, but it's an amalgamation of information that's taken from both the Alzheimer's Society and Wakefield Memory Services, and we've adapted it to our own local needs. This ensures that there is understanding by all, that's families, carers, care homes, and our own hospital staff, that a hospital admission, either as an emergency or planned, exacerbates the disorientation of the person with dementia. Of course, we're all promoting the This Is Me document, and we're trying to enable people to help us to help them.
Piece of work that East Sussex County Council have led on has been the development of a good practice guide for dementia care homes. This was in response to a rise in safeguarding issues that came up starting about 18 months ago, particularly in dementia care homes. But also there was a drive to work with care home providers to standardise the quality of care that we're giving and build on the good work that they're already doing. And that's something I really do want to make clear, that the guide wasn't developed because nobody was doing anything any good. There's a lot of good work out there. So it's really a case of trying to tie this together and work closely with them. You know, looking around this room, I feel like I'm at the Oscars. You know, work your way up through the tables to get here. It's actually quite daunting. But kind of like the Oscars, in my case, not saying anybody else's, but standing up here, the person who's doing the talking isn't the one who should get all the credit for all the work. For the development of the Good Practice Guide, there's a lot of people involved all the way through the development of it. I cannot thank all these people enough. Skills for Care, for example, once they first found out that we were coming up with a guide, gave us a whole raft of information that formed the basis of everything all the way through in this, because they'd done a lot of work on this already and they were so free and willing with the information they gave. I've now made very strong contacts with various teams in the NHS who are very willing and eager to contribute to this. The Care Home InReach team, end-of-life care team, and lots of people are here, including at least one of the care homes, of the care homes who piloted the guide as we were developing this. Now, there's no point in me working for East Sussex having come up with a guide saying, here it is, this is what you need to do. It had to be done with the help of other professionals and with the care home providers themselves who are going to be using it. It's pointless otherwise, because otherwise it wouldn't have meant anything to any of them.
The information resource, I purposely put telephone numbers on the back page of the resource to enable contacts, most up-to-date contacts, for self-referrals to be made that would reassure relatives and carers. And we know that anyone who is IT literate will be Googling all the national organisations and the local organisations. So it's very important to know the audience and tailor your information resources appropriately. This resource obviously supports and informs all of the staff across the region and the multi-agencies that we work with who can in-reach and outreach, as we've just said. We hope that it will establish consistency of information throughout all of the acute and community hospitals and community care settings and district nurse services.
Feedback from homes that have been using the guide, which was launched last summer, has been that they're picking up on different aspects of it for part of the services they're delivering. Some of them are using it for training and for an induction of their new staff. It's not the kind of thing where you're supposed to read it from page 1 onwards. There's 53 pages in there. It could be overwhelming if you tried to do it. It's a kind of dip in and out type of thing. Mostly aimed at managers, but there's been good feedback that staff are finding it helpful with bits of information that are within it. We're using it to establish consistency across the county. As I say, there's a lot of good practice out there, but if you imagine someone setting up a care home, they're doing it as a business, so therefore they are doing it predominantly on their own. There's lots of competitors out there, and they're doing what they think is best. Now, how does that compare with everybody else? It's kind of setting a benchmark across the board that everyone can work towards.
We're distributing these information resources in all settings, so in outpatients areas, pre-admission assessments, so that families, carers and the person with dementia can be prepared and help the staff within the hospitals and care settings to support them fully and give personalised care. Obviously, we're giving out in paper format and preferably in A5 because that's a more manageable size of information to people, you know, working on practicalities for people to put in their pockets or in a bag. And we will be putting it onto the Trust extranet and ESHT intranet so that people can access as a resource in anticipation of the person with dementia coming into hospital. We will be undertaking the carers audit that's been requested by Sequins, and that will help support and evidence the effectiveness. Our 70 dementia care champions who've undertaken a 6-day course with ESHT in Canterbury Christchurch University are the frontline staff who are promoting that dissemination of information, and we'll be running the programme again to engage more disciplines and the areas of care that are not represented to do this work in the future.
With the Good Practice Guide, at the launch event last year, we gave hard copies to the providers that came along. We deliberately only did a minimum run because it's the kind of thing that needs to be updated regularly. I've come away with dozens of notes I've scribbled from this morning about things I want to add, change and tweak. So thinking of your audience, this is the kind of thing that would be better online because it's easier to update and get the most recent information out to people. Hence the fact it's on our internet. We've got links on our email signatures, a lot of staff at East Sussex, so that when we send people emails, they can just click on the link and get to the documentation. As ongoing pieces of work, the contracts and purchasing unit, of which I'm part of, they're going to be included in this intender documentation that goes out to people. And it's also forming part of the work that the quality monitoring team do when they go out to do their inspections of care homes. This will form part of the inspection work itself and also the follow-up action plans that come out of it. As with everybody else, Eleanor has asked us to come up with 5 top tips for information, advice and guidance. So we did 5 between us rather than 5 each. Involve your target audience, because otherwise, what's the point in doing it? You're telling people what to do rather than getting them on board with what they need. Use language that they can understand. Anyone working for the NHS, anyone working for the council know all the technobabble we've got, but not what each other's got, and anybody else outside of that isn't going to have a clue. Keep on top of information. And this kind of ties in quite well with point 5, so I'm mixing 2 in together here, about planning ahead, because if you know what's going on with information and you plan ahead, you can think, right, there's going to be legislation coming out. What we've got here isn't a static piece of information or a static document. And then you work out how you can update it and how you can integrate this information. And make sure that the dissemination's appropriate. For care homes, they've all got internet, they've all got email addresses. But for the information that Elaine's putting out, it's more aimed at the public, families and carers. There are generational issues with regard to computer access and wanting to use a computer. A lot of people prefer to ring up to find out information or go into places like libraries. So therefore you need to think about who you're aiming things at. Thank you.